Good morning, everyone, and welcome to part 3 of the Acquisition 101 course from the ODOT Real Estate Academy. My name is Mike Fitch with the Ohio LTAP Center here at ODOT, and we appreciate your participation. As we get started, please take a moment to locate the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel. During the presentation today, please use the questions box to send in any questions you might have. With that, we will go ahead and turn things over to Don Lamar. Hello.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming back for day 3. I hope so far you've found it engaging, learned a little, maybe a little something. So with our short amount of time, we're going to go ahead and jump in and
Don,
yeah.
I think when you turned on your webcam, we lost your slides again. So we'll just have to restart the slides.
Okay.
Yep.
Good? No?
Not yet, not yet. So it might be under the sharing, screen share. There we go. Perfect.
All right. All right, everybody. Well, thank you again for being here, and thanks, Mike. We finished up last time when we met with the how to construct an RE46, and we're going to start this week with how to construct an RE46-1, which is also known as the title chain. This comes out of section 510204 of our real estate manual. We are going to take a look at the header section first. And you need to know the district that you're doing the work for, county, route, and section, the parcel and the identifier. That would be, is it parcel 7 SH, is it parcel 10 WL, so on. And our project identification number, also known as our PID, which is very important as we just about track everything with that. And you always want to make sure that you're using the most current form. So what goes in each of the links on a title chain? The grantor, who's giving the property, the grantee, who's receiving the property, the date signed, which is when the grant, and that it would be the grantor, grantee never signs. The date and time recorded. Now, most of the counties are going past just 7:58 a.m. or 12:58 p.m. and they're also going down to seconds also. So you want to get that in there. That can be very important if it came down to when something was filed. Volume page or the instrument number of the document. I say instrument number because now some counties, such as Warren, are no longer providing volume pages. They are providing instrument numbers. We'll look into a little more of that later. Your conveyance fee. You're either going to have a fee paid or you're going to be exempt. There's really no other option there, except that maybe it's left off the page completely, something to that effect, which would be an NA, but don't leave that blank. Type of document. As you know, warranty deed, survivorship. Is it a fiduciary deed? Is it a quitclaim deed? So on. And the brief land description, that is key. The word there is brief. So remember, like we looked at, or we're going to look at the RE46-1 about how you want it brief. You should be able to copy and paste your brief legal description there into section 2 on your RE46. And that should match completely. As far as remarks go, that would be something like if you found an easement on that deed, or other type of document, something to that effect. If anything that is an irrelative, not supposed to be there, you want to not only put it on note there, you want to put that in section 4. Moving on, what a RE46-1 should resemble. All right, so we see here that a sheriff's deed, Ezekiel Wilson by the Hamilton County Sheriff Wyatt Earp to John Z. Smith, and that was again by sheriff's deed. I'm not saying that's the root deed though. I'm just using an example as a page. John Z. Smith then gave it to Jimmy T. Fish and Jenny R. Fish, the whole 150 acres. Then Jimmy and Jenny gave Sal 50 acres. So they're left with 100 acres and Sal has 50. And in this instance, we would have been researching who? Sal. If we were researching Jimmy and Jenny, we would have stopped in the 1956 portion. The top chain link is always what? Blank. I see where some people like to fill in over here in the grantor section, all this information here. We don't want to do that. What if it is different? And we'll go over that a little more later. You would just want to leave it blank. If there's an update, then you have your existing link to add all the necessary information in. All right, we breezed through that pretty quick, but we're going to go ahead and move on to the title update. If you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type them in, and they'll get forwarded to me, and I'll stop and pick up and answer those. So section 5104 of the Real Estate Manual is the title update. A title update is used when to determine any changes since the original title report or the last title update was executed. This includes second, third, etc. title updates. Yes, this search might originally have been done 4 years ago, updated, and then something happened, it sat for a while, updated again, maybe there was another holdup, updated again. It happens. It's not the norm, but it happens. So when is a title update used? Well, before any compensation is given to the owner, before any file is forwarded to the Attorney General's office, and if the original title report was an abbreviated report and the parcel is being appropriated, it must then be updated to a 42-year search. And it's not going to be technically not going to be an update, but you are updating all the information and putting it into a 42-year search so that the Attorney Generals know exactly what they need to know, who to name in the suit and all that good stuff. Okay, a procedure for a title update. The title update builds on the original title report. The agent updating the report will research the county records from the current certified date back to the date of the original report. Remember, every county has a certified date, and it is not necessarily the day you are there or the day you're looking at their website. So you have to make sure you check that certified date, or there could be a gap where you miss a very vital, important information. Here's an example of a title update that has been, there has been some changes. As we can see here, Douglas Maitland is sold to Joey J. Kingsman. And what you can see here is Doug's name has been hashed out. Doug was single, but Joey's married, so we hashed out single. And as far as Joey goes, his wife was not entitled, and we went over this before. So then the spouse's name goes in this area. If they are husband and wife, you do not put the wife's name over there. I have seen that, or the husband's name, depending on who was listed first on the deed. I've seen it more than once. Over here, fee, again, we went over that. It's fee simple. Fee means you're paying somebody for something. It doesn't mean that you have full 100% interest. What we see down here, the hatch moved a little bit, but we hatched out the original instrument number and put in the new instrument number. Very important right here. We not only hatched out Doug's mortgage because it was taken care of through this mortgage release, we listed the mortgage release and attached a copy. On the back side, you can see here the updated title block, and that's basically it. Yes, you would have put all the changes down here in the title report section, which I failed to do on this example. I apologize, but it would have showed change ownership and some other things. Most likely, this usually changes depending on what time of the year it is. No special assessments against the property. Taxes are current, no delinquents. There are no homestead exemption noted on the property. Homestead, if you're not familiar with it, I want to say it's 65. I could be wrong on that name and older. You can go to the county and apply for an exemption, and your taxes are reduced. So, moving on, what do I do if I have multiple title updates? There's only one block. So what do you got to do? You just go ahead, you copy and paste the new block, and you put it right below it, just like this. This was copy and pasted. And then what I do is add which update it is. Some go in one order, some go in the other order. I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Hopefully we don't go more than 2, but it happens. Why would you have a second title update? You updated the title for some reason, and then you go to update it to do your closing. Again, just copy and paste it. I get that question a lot. Where am I going to put my next title block? I don't have. Where do I put that information? There's no title block. Well, it's very simple. Just copy and paste it. That brings us to our first knowledge check. Are you ready for me, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. What is the time period for a title update?
And the questions box is open, so please feel free to type in.
Now, it's a little lengthy of an answer, so you can shorten it and if necessary. Give everybody a couple more seconds.
Yep. Okay, looking for the first reply.
It's not an easy question. It's something you have to get used to.
All right, so Don, someone typed in from previous original title, from current certified date backward, between the last report and the cert date. So those are the 3 responses so far.
Great, we're on target. The certified date of the original report to the county's certification date of the current update. Basically, you started from when the last title report, when the original title report ended, up to when the county says, okay, all our documents are in and you can pull anything and see everything up to this date. And remember, that date will not always be the same date that you're working on. I've seen counties 2 weeks behind, so you really got to pay attention. All right, bonus knowledge check. What is the time period for a second title update? I know we got to see some good answers on this one.
All right, and the questions box is open.
I feel like I should be playing Jeopardy music.
Okay, first response says between the first update and the current county cert date.
Boom, certification date of the original title report to the certification date of the current update. go back to the beginning of the original title report. I know in the past, a lot, including myself, before I was taught better, would go from the last update to the current day. And our manual states that you are to go from the certification date of the original report. So good job, guys. We're going to go ahead and move on to outsales. Outsales are tricky. They're not horribly tricky, but to the point where if you're not familiar with outsales, they can be a little stifling. We have a section 510204 of our manual that explains them. What is an outsale? An outsale should have been one word. The easiest way to comprehend an outsales are to simply match the total acreage of the current deed to what the auditor has in their records. If it's not the same, you most likely have an outsale. You need to go find it and list it in your chain. And we'll show here in a few minutes where to put it in your chain. Now, the question that comes up all the time is, well, they split it from 100 acres to 50 acres, but that was 3 deeds back. That's not an outsale. It has to be the current deed that is not showing, reflecting what the auditor has. So, note, keep in mind, if there's just a slight difference between the auditor and the current deed, such as 0.001, 0.002, a very small percentage, there most likely is no outsale. Most surveyors put in their legal description more or less, which covers that 0.001, and you'll see that more in older deeds with very large parcels, I'm sorry, very large amounts of acreage, or I've seen it with 1 acre. You know, it all depends, but it's language that will cover that. If you're not saying, nobody's going to buy a 0.001 piece of acre of land, most likely. So you're not going to have one in that case. So, but you still have to do your work and your due diligence to make sure that everything's good. And again, that's out of 510104G of our manual. So this is the magic question I get quite a bit. Where do I put an outsale? An outsale is to be shown at the bottom of the title chain. The agent is to either skip a block on the title chain form or start another page of an RE 46-1. You have an option. I like to see it just put as the very last link in the chain. There's usually links between that. If there's not, that's when you're going to have to go and get another page no matter what. Outsales are not to be put in chronological order in the guts of the title chain, the RE 46-1. What I mean by that is it's not part of your chain. It goes at the very end of your chain, and you need to make sure that you do put a notation on there. This is an outsale to cover the discrepancy between the current deed of record and the auditor's current acreage amount. All right, we got an example here. So this is our warranty deed. You see 2 spaces left. I'm sorry, our root deed is what I meant to say. You got 2 spaces in between. So we went ahead and we put this outsale from DJ Franklin to Bob T. Builder, and that's going to be where our outsale goes. You have that separation so that the reader knows, hey, there's something going on here. I need to keep reading. I read my 46s in reverse. Some people don't. If you read them in reverse, which I'll show you a little later, it can make it a little easier. All right, I got a section here on making your life easier, hopefully. So something to keep in mind. Only research a property that is in the area being acquired. Here's what I mean. We have here a piece of land where ODOT is going to take an SH, as you can see, from Joseph Smith. And Joseph owns quite a bit of land over here. He received the 6.5 acres in deed volume 123,456 and the 2.5 in OR volume 1234654. So he bought them at different times. He also, as you can see, here we have some hooks. If you're familiar with hooks, the old tax maps would show hooks that would indicate that that is part of the same owner, contiguous parcels. So what do we want to look at here when we go to research? We have these two up front. We see our SH goes in between it, covers just a little bit in the 2.5, doesn't hit the 10.6 or the other 10.6 that he bought at two different times. So would we, and I'm just throwing this out there, you don't have to answer, Joseph Smith's 6.5 acres, would we research that? Yes, we would. His 2.5? Yes, we would. And that's probably going to end up being two different chains because you got them at two different times. Would we research that? No. And would we research that? No. So why do we not need to research those other properties? It's simple, because they will not affect the area ODOT needs to acquire. So there's no reason to take time to run searches that you don't need the information from. We're only worried about where we're going to put our standard highway easement, or where we're going to buy our land, or whatever it may be. I did a crazy example is somebody did 27 parcels, which only, I think it was 12 or 14 of them actually were part of the take. So they did all these other chains for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Big waste of their time. They were not an ODOT employee, so it wasn't a waste of the state's time, but we're not going to pay for anything like that either that we didn't need. So that's something to keep in mind. Moving on, we're going to go into section 4. Where are we at time-wise? All right, we're looking good. I have some short scenarios of what is or is not an acceptable route deed, and these are vaguely in 5107 of the ODOT manual. All right, and Mike, we can go ahead and open up the answer box for these ones if you'd like.
Sure.
All right, we got scenario number 1. We have a grantor, James J. Jones and Jenny J. Jones. That's a tongue twister. Husband and wife. They sell it to Fred and Wilma Johnson. They did it by a warranty deed with survivorship. And it was recorded on October 16th, 1997. And the current recorder's certified date is April 2nd, 2020. Is this a root deed for an abbreviated title? One, either yes or no.
Okay, and the questions box is open. First response says no. Two responses say yes. Another yes. I'm not sure.
That's an honest answer. I like that.
And then a yes and another yes. So those are the responses so far. Another yes. Yep.
And your yeses are correct. And here's why. The document found was a warranty deed. And since there would be since this will be for an abbreviated title search, there's no certain length of time required. It could have been recorded yesterday. If it's a warranty deed, we can, and everything's up to date in the county, and then we could use it that day. So good job, guys. We'll move on to our second one. Cubco International LLC gives it to Fasco Corp, a Delaware corporation, which in the old time, a lot of older deeds you'll find they were Delaware corporations, even though they're in this area due to tax purposes. Document is a quick claim deed. The date recorded was August 14th, 1967. And the recorder's current certified date is April 2nd, 2020. The question is this a root deed for a 42-year search?
Okay, people are typing in no, 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 and no.
They're good. They're good. It's no. Although the document we found was executed over 42 years ago, it was not a warranty deed or judicial decree, meaning we did not have root title. Good job, guys. Number 3, we have John D. Dillinger, single. The grantee, Eddie E. Cruz. It's done by judicial decree. And the date recorded was January 2nd, 1977. And your certified date's April 2nd, 2020. Is this a root deed for a 42-year search? Yes or no?
Responses are yes, yes, several yeses.
And all the yeses are right. This is a judicial decree and recorded over the minimum requirements of 42 years. Therefore, we can use it as a root deed. Good job, guys. Moving on. Common issues with completed 46 and 46-1s. I threw this in here. These are a lot of things that get run by me, or I find when I'm reviewing titles, or get questions asked about. So, the ownership interest is either divided percentage or fee simple. We've talked a lot about that. Next, only need to know if the taxes are delinquent or current. We're not interested so much as to when they're paid up through. Remember, auditors' cards are live documents. Auditors' printouts are live documents. They can change anytime. All we need to know really is what they're paying for taxes at the time you did it, and are they paid up to date. So here they failed to give us, they gave us the address of the property, but what city is it in? Do you have a zip code? You know, is it in, you know, what part, what city? I need to know that information so that when it's put in there, the negotiator will know where to go ahead and move forward. And also, in my district, we now are phasing into where our RSs are doing the, if you're doing the title report, you are also sending out the hi folks letter, also the known as the introductory letter. So you need to know the address completely. That's it for that. And so let's take a look at a title chain. I talked a little bit about this earlier. There's someone out there in the consultant world that loves to do this. It makes no sense to me. Why is it there? The space is supposed to be left blank. It says it in the manual. If there's been a change, this would be assuming everyone involved was included. So look at all these, you know, different names. If only one or two of those are included, you absolutely did nothing to help anything. It just caused a problem. So remember, keep that blank. Don't worry about, you know, it's nice that you're trying to help out the next person that reads it, but not necessary. Here we have a discrepancy. Okay, you can see here that the date was signed 2 years from when it was recorded. Is this an irregularity or is it a typo? Well, you want to make sure that goes where? Section 4, because that really isn't the norm. You should catch that by reading your documents. Also, the person put here stamps. Stamps tells me absolutely nothing. Revenue stamps have amounts on them. If you cannot read them, you need to note that you just can't read them. You can't just say stamps. If you're not familiar with revenue stamps, back in the day, you used to go to the post office and buy them just like you would regular stamps, and they went stamped right onto your document, and that paid your conveyance fee. So that's it for those. This did turn out to be a typo after reading into the document more, and this was basically he or she could not read what it said, which is all they needed to put in there, unable to read. And they covered it. You can also see down here, reserving to a grantor life estate. I would make sure that I followed up on that as a researcher. I mean, this is from 1964. If it's done in the 20s, most likely this person may no longer be with us. Therefore, we have to make sure that that interest was passed on or correctly taken care of. Okay, we have a double blast knowledge check. I'm trying to get creative with the names. Question, and if we could open the box up when I'm done, Mike.
Yep.
Ideally, what 3 words would be within the language of a warranty deed, especially when used as the root deed? And I may or may not went over this, but you probably know the answer. 3 words.
Okay, and the questions box is open. Warrant and defend. Warrant, defend, convey. Warrant and defend. Warrant and will defend. General warranty covenants. Okay, so those are some of the answers.
All right. All right, you guys are on it. Warrant defend tells us that it was a warranty deed executed. Now, you still have to watch because there will be folks that will issue family members warranty deeds, and so you still got to watch names, things like that, but that's what you want to see in your root deed, warrant defend, if it's not a judicial decree. Second, what is a general warranty deed acceptable as a root deed? Is a general warranty deed acceptable as a root deed? Yes or no?
Okay, we'll look for responses. First response says yes. And then several say yes.
And they are all correct. RC 530205 states, and that the grantor does warrant and will defend the same to the grantee and the grantee's heirs, assigns, and successors forever against the lawful claims and demands of all persons when it comes to a general warranty deed. But you will not see most likely the words warrant and defend in a general warranty deed. So that's a little tricky, but you know, once you get it and you get it down, you'll find it easy to come by. You'll understand. Okay, now I'm going to move on to some quality issues that I've seen that we haven't touched yet. Reading the documents, and you have to read each document in depth to make sure you're capturing all pertinent information. I'll give you an example. I know this is a little hard to read, but you can see here that we have a deed which contains, at the end of the legal description, 5.857 acres. It also has an easement. So what do we do when we find an easement in a deed? We have to go back and find that easement, no matter how long it was. If it was before our search period, that doesn't matter. We still go back and we get that deed. So what I mean by reading the entire document, so I go to page 2. Remember, this was 203. This is 204. And they have a whole new legal description in here. The property has been resurveyed and now is described as 5.816 acres. So they lost a little acreage on their new survey. Not a huge issue, but that could cause you a problem. And again, they put in the exception of the easement. Now, something to point out, if you can get in there and read into that easement, it says that it is in miscellaneous volume 31 251. That's, to me, an odd place to put an easement, but hey, you know, these counties did what they want in the day, and there weren't a whole lot of restrictions. So you need to make sure you're clear about where to find things. If you don't look at the miscellaneous books, you could miss a lot of information. I'm going to show you more on that in a little while. Again, making sure you read the document clearly. We can see the mortgagor, the lender, address, how much they borrowed. And the biggest thing that we're concerned about is the condemnation clause. We need to know who we're paying and if it's forced to go to the bank or not, and all that good stuff. Something to keep in mind is that sometimes the condemnation clause will not be spelled out like that. Sometimes you got to hunt for it in the language. So, issue 2, clarifying the volume and page. This is a pet peeve of mine. You're going to have the official records, you're going to have a deed volumes, you're going to have mortgage volumes, you're going to have easement volumes, lease volumes. As we just saw, miscellaneous volumes. One county that I deal with has highway easement volumes. They also have water and sewer volumes. And also you're going to have, like we talked about, barcodes with no volume pages but an instrument number. It's very important to put what type of document, what book you got the document from. Don't put 1, 2, 3, page 5, 6, 7. It's, you can shorten it to OR. We understand it means official record. DV, we understand means deed volume. But when you start getting into these, you're going to want to try and spell them out. I mean, MISC, we're going to understand is miscellaneous, because we want the reader to know where it came from. As you can see here, here's an example. This is a Ohio warranty deed with release of dower, and this is a form deed that that attorney used to type up. As you can see, it just says volume 687203. Okay. Counties had deed volumes and then moved into OR volumes. So you, as the researcher, needs to take it upon yourself to put the correct volume and page in your chain and all other parts of your report. In this case, because of the age, it would be a deed volume. So there's going to be in that courthouse or records room, there's going to be a deed volume 687 page 203, and there's also going to be an OR volume 687 page 203. You have to be clear so that anybody who picks this up and reads it understands it. This is just an example of the barcode, Warren County. And what I would put in my section, your barcode's not going to be the biggest thing. That's going to be your instrument number, 2015-013999. Check the county, how they insert them into their website is how you want to put that. That way, if somebody needs to go find it, they have an easy way to go find it. Issue number 3, addresses. We see here, this is copy and pasted out of Hamilton County. We see the address is 3416 Coleraine Avenue. Doesn't tell us what city, doesn't tell us the zip code or anything. So we'll have to dig that out ourselves. But we also see here mailing information. So who are we mailing our information to? Well, you got to figure that out. Does this person live here, or is that the property and it's rented out? As you can see here, it's a garage. So most likely I would probably send one to each of these and it would eventually get to the owner. But addresses do not depend on an address in a deed, because people move in between the time the deeds have been changed. If it's a rental property or something to that extent, you're not going to have the right address. We need to make sure we inform these people of upcoming projects. Issue number 4, marital status. And I discussed this a little bit earlier. Is saying here, this one's saying Raymond M. Steelman and Dana L. Steelman married. Now, the author listed the owners as married. I took a look at the document and they received it fee simple interest. It was evident that there was no specification of the marital status. Never said if they're husband or wife. So why would we put married there? Because we could, why wouldn't we? Because we could have issues like this. And most likely they are husband and wife. However, they could be cousins, they could be brothers and sisters, they could be divorced and she kept his last name. We don't know. And that goes back to don't speculate. You would just put in there marital status unknown or NA. You need to cover it with something that is telling the reader that you did not get the information off the deed as you had felt. I've seen people go and get it off of the mortgage. I don't know if that's wrong or right, to be honest with you. I can't see it being wrong, because this is just for our purposes. So just a little bit on that. And again, never speculate, only report facts. Issue 5, too much information, less is more. Okay, 42-year title reports are a minimum of 42 years. Yes, they could go 100 years, 50 years, whatever it is. They are not a minimum of 65 years. 65 years is the standard for title insurance. We're not doing title insurance. We are doing an ODOT title report. I've heard of certain districts that are requiring their RSs to perform 65-year title researches. Don't stray away from the manual. The minimum of 42 years, it's not a suggestion, that's ODOT policy. So keep that in mind. Managers, it's 42 years, not 65. If you got 65 in your head, you need to come back to ODOT and leave the mortgage roll behind. So we're going to move on to how much information can go in section 2. This one is pretty full, and this comes from one of my people, and she said I could use it. She wasn't embarrassed. She understood, but she had way too much information on here. So I went ahead, and as you can see, we want a brief description of the subject property. So I went ahead, and this is what I would have done. Current root deeds, a brief legal description, a note that the current deeds contain additional parcels that are not in the area to take. When you're doing it on your title, you could put and more lands, and that tells the reader what? Tells them there's additional parcels on there that are not in the area to take. And I listed all contiguous parcels, and that is very helpful to the appraisers. So I guess I could have did that. All right. So that's going to move us into section 5. And this is what I'm calling a miscellaneous section. Just a little bit of everything. Titles for appropriation. At the end of section 2, the AGO's Greg Severance, who is still on here if you have any questions, reviewed what is needed for titles that are to be sent to their office for appropriation proceedings. The next page, we will show you an example of the review checklist used when submitting a parcel for appropriations. Keep in mind, this is all we're really worried about. When this checklist is for the negotiator, not for us, but I just wanted to give you a look at it. If you have any questions, Greg is awesome. He knows what he's doing and he knows the answers. So please feel free to send him any questions. Okay, what is a voluntary lien? You're going to find a couple different kind of liens to put into your section 3. A voluntary lien is one that exists because of an action taken by a debtor. This type of lien uses the property of another as security for the payment of a debt. These liens are attached most often to real property and not a person. Basically, a voluntary lien is you went out and got a mortgage. You went out and got a line of credit. You bought a tractor and used your property as a farmer for collateral. And that's a little more into the UCCs. I believe I touch on it very quickly later. So just to let you know, UCCs we're not worried about unless they have a legal description attached to them. Common types of voluntary liens. Again, mortgages, financial statements like I just described, a land contract. And these are just some commonly found voluntary liens. You're going to find other types of liens not included on this list, obviously. This is very short, to the point. And just to remind, unless I'm wrong, and Greg, tell me if I am, land contracts that exceed over 5 years become mortgages. Is that still the case?
Well, the key with land contracts is, in a sense, who is the owner, because it flips during the life of the land contract. It has to do with equitable title and legal title. The purchaser, if they've been paying for more than 5 years or have paid more than, I think it's 20%. I'd have to check it because they change from time to time, but I'm pretty sure it's 20% of the amount owed. Technically, then they get what they call equitable title, because legal title will still show up in the auditor's office as being held by the seller. But you can understand, if you were the purchaser, at some point you would like to think that essentially you owned the property, and that's what equitable title is. If you've paid enough on it, or if you've paid long enough. And again, I believe that's 20% of the purchase price or 5 years in payments, because then what happens is the seller has to turn around and actually do a foreclosure basically on the property owner if they stop making payments. So
right.
It's important to note that land contract. And if you know, well, if it's been in payment for 5 years, that's probably pretty obvious from the date that it was recorded. All land contracts have to be recorded. Otherwise, they're not noticed to the outside world. So it should be recorded. If somebody tells you there's a land contract on it, well, that's well and good, but we go by what's recorded. So that's key to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. So let's move on. And there's a Trumbull County Courthouse in Warren, Ohio. That's where I grew up. Some of these, and just to fare off a little bit, some of these courthouses are gorgeous inside. Marble all over the walls, the ceilings, the cathedral ceilings are beautiful. So That's one benefit of doing title research. But where to locate voluntary liens? You'll find them on the county's recorder's on-site computer system. You'll find them on their online computer system. You'll find them in mortgage index books, sectional index books. If you're not familiar with those, some counties also use a section book, which is awesome because everything that happens in that section is in that book and really cuts down on your research time. Miscellaneous index books and other designated county office indexes. So what is an involuntary lien? Okay, so we know what a voluntary lien is. So what's an involuntary lien? That's one that exists on real estate without the property owner's voluntary cooperation. It may or may not be imposed by a court or often involves for non-payment of a voluntary lien or another type of financial agreement where the property owner does not fulfill his or her contractual agreement. And another non-payment of a voluntary lien, and it says another type of financial agreement. Mechanics lien. You had some concrete work done, you didn't pay for it, you're gonna get a mechanics lien slapped on you. Here's some common types of involuntary liens. They're also known as non-consensual liens. So we have judgment liens, property auditors tax liens. There's a county that has a personal property tax book that you need to watch out for. Obviously, IRS liens, child support liens, state tax liens, personal tax liens, like I kind of spoke about a second ago. And again, this is just an example of some of the different types that you're going to run into. You're obviously going to run into other ones. So where to locate these? And this is the Mahoning County Courthouse, which is really nice inside also. It's in Youngstown, Ohio. I did quite a bit of work out of there also. Counties, recorders on site, it's basically going to be the same thing as voluntary. Mortgage indexes, here's one of the differences, the judgment entry books. There's the section books again, the miscellaneous indexes, and other designated office indexes. Moving on, we're going to show you an example of an involuntary lien. Here we have a child support lien. And we can see here, there's a section for the legal description of any property. Well, this gentleman, yes, it was a gentleman, did not own any property to attach a lien to. So, but this is filed, and to my knowledge, if he ever buys a piece of property, as soon as it automatically attaches to it. So we need to be very clear on all that good stuff. Obviously, this one would not affect us, what we're doing, but I wanted to give you an example. Some common types of documents granting current owner's interest. And you can see warranty, judicial, limited warranty, a survivorship deed, a fiduciary deed, quitclaim deed, certificate of transfer, auditor's deeds, which are rare, but they do happen, transfer on death deed, which is no longer valid. They have extinguished them a few years back. And now it's a transfer on death designation affidavit. They will accept ones that were dated before that date that they extinguished them, but they've kind of streamlined the process. And basically, you can put a deed, you can fill out a whole deed that transfers the property after you pass away, straight to whoever you made the grantee. Governor's deeds, we've had a few of those recently at our office. General warranty deed, we've discussed that. Sheriff's deed, that means that you had your property foreclosed on and taken away. And it was sold at the sheriff's sale. You'll discover other types of documents granting current owner interest. All right, where to locate various documents granting current owner's interest. A lot of the same, both the on-site computer system, the online system. You're going to find them in the recorder's deed index books, the recorder's sectional index books, and other designated areas. Here's some what we can find on a deed. We're going to find our volume and page. We're going to find our name of our grantor and our grantee, Lena Zimmer to the Lena Z company, most likely the same person. It is a quick claim deed, so we couldn't use it for root anyway. What kind of type of document? It says quick claim deed up in the top there. We really do not want to use that unless absolutely necessary. If there's nowhere else in the document that says what kind of type of deed it is, or that it quit claim the interest or whatever. But what it is there was a time period when you could go to a stationery store, buy a deed, and type in all the information. I've seen quick claim deeds that had warrant and defend in them, and other kinds of things that just weren't right. But we talked a little bit about this. There's an address, but we do not necessarily want to go by that because things change. Conveyance fee, it's really hard to read, but this was exempted. Date signed by the grantor, February 11th, 1998. Signature of the grantee, the signature of the grantor, and date and time recorded. And right here we see two witnesses. Those are no longer necessary. This deed's from 1998 when it still was necessary. The back page, you're going to get your brief legal description of all that. It does show auditors' parcel numbers. Never rely on those to be your current parcel numbers. I've had counties change their complete system, change every parcel number in the county. You can't rely on them. Auditors' miscellaneous information over there in the, on the margin. And just to give you a note, and all our documents here at ODOT are already set up for this, but every county in Ohio now requires a 3-inch marginal. And if you go in there and you don't have that 3-inch marginal, they're going to charge you extra. So you got to watch. Sometimes if we get a legal description from outside of ODOT, they don't give that 3 inches, and you got to make sure you let them know they have to revise it and give you a 3-inch border. All right, this is a little example of direct and reverse deed books. And some counties elected to name the deed index books direct and reverse instead of grantor and grantee. Basically, it's simple. Once you grasp hold of it, direct means grantor, reverse means grantee. You're going to run across that once in a while. Not all the counties did it, but some did, just to touch on that. Section 4, comment types, irregularities, defects, and comments. These are some of the things you're going to run into. Missing links in the chain, missing interest with current owners. Current owners are getting divorced. The clerk knows your property owner is deceased, but you find nothing on record indicating this information is accurate. And this is a good example of off-record information. And yes, it does happen. You go to these courthouses and you start talking to people, and they'll be like, "Oh, that guy passed away 3 years ago, but we never opened a case." So it happens, guys. Ohio Secretary of State Business Search does not show your businesses on there. Also, I always put in that section 4 that I did attach a copy of the Secretary of State's business information, so that they know that I did my job. And power of attorneys was used by the last grantor. And what I mean by that is if you had POAs, 5 deeds back, really don't care about a copy of it. Yeah, you want to note it in your chain, but we don't need to see it in section 4. It doesn't affect anything. Really kind of want to know if the current owner has a POA.
Don?
Yes.
Hi, we have just reached 10 a.m.
Ooh, all right. Are we gonna move forward like last
Yeah,
time?
we can go a few more minutes to wrap up. Yep.
Okay, yeah, those of you who want to stick around, I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as I can. And just a reminder, you will get a PDF link to the PDF copy of all this. So anything we can't get to, you can go to and check it out. So where we're going to locate easements at, there's the Butler County Courthouse. That's pretty nice. Never been inside there though. It's basically all the same information. Recorder's section on the books, a little different. Some counties have easement index books, like I talked about, miscellaneous books, and other designated areas or offices. Where to locate leases, basically the same thing. I'm not going to bore you with that, so we can get through some more. But what I want to show you, and that wasn't supposed to come up like that, but as you can see, this is a copy of Claremont County's miscellaneous book. And I apologize, it's hard to read, but you can see here we have a lease, a power of attorney, a lease, a land contract, a grant, a water and sewer lease, an easement, looks like another water and sewer lease, just says miscellaneous. Mechanics lien, lease, something, I can't even read that, so I would have to go look those up. You have just miscellaneous. So that's why I say make sure you know every book that is in that county, or else you could run into an issue or you miss something as important as an easement or a lease that could affect your final who's actually in ownership. 10 steps to building the title report. This is just kind of a way that I go about it. The title report, the RA46, then your title chain underneath that, the auditor's printout and card for all parcels. If you have contiguous parcels, you should attach the card, and I usually mark on the top, not in take area, and which ones are in the take and which ones are not. Number 4, then you're going to put your current deeds in chronological order, and then your root deeds in chronological order, and then other pertinent information. Deeds, example, deeds containing reverter clauses, restrictions, and/or exceptions. Number 7, any mortgages, liens, and/or encumbrances. Number 8, any leases. Number 9, any easements. And number 10, any documents listed in section 4. And as you can see, this follows just like the report reads. I see where a lot of people like to put the auditor's card at the bottom. Doesn't make sense to me because I need to see that auditor's card right after I see how much acreage is in this chain. So why should I have to go dig all the way back to the bottom? So this is a example of the best way to build your title. We have a knowledge check. I'm not going to let you guys open it up due to time, but during your research, you found a mortgage from 2 owners ago that was never released. What do? Do you A, disregard that you found it and complete your report without it? Include the mortgage section of your report and include a copy? Or include the mortgage section of your report, include a copy, and include it in section 4? And your answer is C. You're going to put that in section 4, obviously. That is a big irregularity. That means it most likely somehow was missed. Either you missed it, the bank never filed the correct paperwork to have it released, whatever the case may be. Someone did not follow up. We have an example of a lease. You can see here, leasee, leaseor, what's being leased, and this is a land lease. I'm not going to go too in depth with that. You can take a little more look at that one when you get it. I did want to look at this a little more. This is an example of an oil and gas lease. I'm sorry about the watermark. This was a good one to show, and I could not find one without a watermark. So as you can see, I highlighted out where the information says, and I had it put out dated November 27th, 2012 and made effective November 27th, 2012, which provides for a 5-year primary terms and option to renew for an additional 5 years. This lease may be extended beyond the primary term, certain activities, including without limitation, conducting operations, producing oil and gas, or making prescribed payments. So basically, we could have, hello? Well, this could have been recorded 10 years ago, but we don't, unless there's a release stating that it is released, or in some counties, they just put it right in the marginal. You should show this because we are not sure if it's still active or not. Title chain information from the current deed, pretty simple. You can find all that information right there. You'll know where to put it. This is an example of a 46 that couldn't have went smoother. Crawler to fin. Fin to fin. And why did they do that? It's because they went from a warranty deed to a warranty deed with survivorship. And then they sold off to Rec. And Rec went ahead and sold it to Hodges. They used a general warranty deed with survivorship. So, but that's an example of how I read them backwards. And you can see here, the acreage changed. And there's a note, this document indicates that there is a change in total acreage and is due to a prior legal description being incorrect and that the property has been resurveyed to correct. That was on the deed, so I put it in there. I also put it in section 4. And you can also see in the top one about the power of attorney that the husband signed for the wife through the power of attorney, just in case there's any issues down the road. And there's that info I just told you about. An example of an easement. I'll let you take a look at this yourself. Pretty cut and dry. If we had more time, I'd go through it. Gives legal descriptions. Not necessarily. It's probably perpetual. I'll tell you what it's for. Here's an example of an auditor's card. This is Claremont County. There's their auditor's parcel number, the address, the district. That's where you get your school district for our tax section. You can see here the 100% appraised value. And then more information. This whole section is telling us about first half, second half, if there's any delinquencies, and all the other good information, homestead, CAUV, and every other card should include a copy of the property, and that's always included on the auditor's card. This isn't a very good copy due to it just being copied too many times, I imagine. But okay, that leads us to section 6. We're really short on time, so I'm not get this, I'll get a couple in and then we'll wrap up. Some frequently asked questions. The parcel is for a small temporary easement for grading and seeding. Do I need to even do a title report? And the answer is yes, because section 510101 states that for every acquisition, there must be a title report. Question 2, I can get copies of what I need off the record, the recorder's website, but each page has a watermark on it. Can I still use it in my title report? For basically, there's the big answer, but basically yes, for our purposes, you can use it. If it goes to appropriations, you're gonna wanna talk to the Attorney General that you're, who you're dealing with and see what they want. Mark Rylance and John Nixdorf usually handle that, so you might want to get a hold of them. They're the paralegals that take care of all the titles. See what they want. You may have to actually go to the courthouse and get copies if they want clear copies. What is a title cloud? A title cloud is anything that the property ownership history that raises questions about the owner's legal claim to the property. Examples are old mortgages not released, like we talked about, and you can see some other things there. What do I need to do for a title update when the parcel goes for appropriations? Section 510502 of the manual shows exactly what you need to do. And Greg went over that earlier. I have a title with 3 different chains for the parcel being researched. Each of the chains ends with the same root deed. Can I put them on the same chain? No. Combining all 3 chains will confuse the reader. Anyone needing to read this is going to get confused. You need to separate those chains. It's not a big deal to copy and paste that root deed into your next set of for your next set of acreage or whatever. I have discovered the current owner is deceased. What do I show from the estate? Letters of authority, any documents providing the name of the surviving spouse, children, and or next of kin. If possible, also include the deceased's final and final will, along with any significant information found in the probate case file. See section 510703 of the manual for more specifics. I am doing a 3rd update for a parcel. It's not an appropriation case. Can I use the last date it was updated? No, like we talked about, you always go back to the original date. So helpful hints, I'm gonna let you read on your own. Mike, I'm finished up then with 3 minutes to spare.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, Don and Greg. And thanks everyone for your participation today. We really appreciate it.
Yep. And if I could just say thank you everybody for being here. Please get a hold of me if you have any questions. I'm always willing to help.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Take care, everybody.